Yeah, let's lock it down. Despite the fact you're bankrupting your hospitals and the evidence done by surveys during lockdowns in New York, which was the biggest hotspot in the country and has the most deaths anywhere, indicated that the people who were getting infected were home. So I really am in utter astonishment that we're having this argument again about lockdowns. Ladies and gentlemen, do we need another example of a failing restaurant, bar, not failing because its business model failed because the government put them out of business? Do we need more examples of this? I mean, we're going through it. Just please explain to me this. We just came out of some of these lockdowns and we're seeing, because of increased testing and other things in travel, we're seeing increased infections and decreased fatalities. So I don't understand, did the lockdowns work? Did they not work? And then, by the way, in some of the states that dumped the lockdowns, you're seeing flattening curves all over the place. I don't understand, did they work? Are we doing evidence or are we just doing hyperbolic nonsense right now? California, who has the second worst governor in the country, Gavin Newsom, after the dreadful Andrew Cuomo, has decided it's now a good idea to shut down California. Again, here's a Wall Street Journal article today that asks some pretty simple questions about lockdowns. Considering the pain imposed upon your citizens is dramatic enough that you're probably going to destroy hundreds of thousands of lives, we should probably ask if they work before we do that, right? Just throwing that question out there, folks. Wall Street Journal editorial board. California's second shutdown now. Governor Newsom succumbs to pressure and locks the economy again. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no evidence these things work. Do you understand this is being done by tyrannical left-wing nut jobs and people who hate Trump just because they want to crash the economy? They have no scientific basis to show these lockdowns, these universal lockdowns or these lockdowns in specific areas. They have no evidence these things work at all. Let's go to the piece. And then I'm going to go to another Washington Examiner piece afterwards, showing you how devastating these lockdowns really are. They're supposed to be helping. Quote, no doubt bars and restaurants have contributed to more community spread in many states. But even Mr. Newsom said a few weeks ago that, let's listen to this one, Joe. A growing number of cases in California owed to more private gatherings, birthdays and graduation parties and summer barbecues. These are difficult for government to control. Wait, keep that up again. So why are we locking down? So he admits the lockdowns, it was private events, but he does it anyway. Goes on the piece. Kind of strange, right? Ask New York Governor Cuomo, and 6 weeks after Cuomo locked down his state, hospitals were still admitting nearly 1,000 COVID patients a day. Really? So the lockdowns don't work? Mr. Cuomo directed them to survey patients about their habits. Oh, this next sentence is fascinating. So locks down the economy. People are still getting infected. Cuomo says, ask them how they got it. Lo and behold, nearly all the patients were unemployed or retired and claimed to be sheltering in place. Don't worry, folks. Let's lock it down again, despite no evidence in New York and California, two of our hotspots, despite no evidence those lockdowns actually did anything to curtail growing infection rates. No, let's just lock it down again and bankrupt people while people are getting sick. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a political agenda. It's not based on science. I'm very sorry to break the bad news to you. And the public pressure is going to be, I can honestly see a seismic political shift in the realignment of American political values in states if this continues. I'm not kidding. If this continues and President Trump is reelected, because if Biden's reelected, believe me, the media will handle the coronavirus coverage entirely differently than they do now. That's a fact. If President Trump is reelected for a second term, you may see a seismic shift in state politics due almost exclusively to these lockdowns. Folks, you can talk all you want about your higher level political social justice warrior, cancel culture, liberal values. Do we believe in what's your bumper sticker? Tolerance or something, which is interesting because they're the ones beating the crap out of everyone, the radical left. You can talk about that all you want, coexist, all that stuff, all your higher order values as a liberal. I promise you, when your own Democratic governor you pledged allegiance to and you genuflect before bankrupts your business and your family and you're on a food line, all of a sudden you start thinking real differently about where your political stars should align. I'm not kidding, ladies and gentlemen. You are going to see a seismic shift in politics if this continues. And by the way, let me just be clear, in case you think, oh, that's just Dan speaking as a partisan Republican. I am a partisan. That's not a secret. I'm a conservative. It's not this is not a news show. We do news. This is an opinion show from a conservative lens. But it goes the other way too. To you Republicans out there like Greg Abbott in Texas and others, the governor of Texas and other Republican governors locking down or thinking about locking down your own states. The county commissioners in my own county were Republicans. I have never received, I put it out on my social media account yesterday on Parler. I have never received so many emails about Texas as I have over the past few weeks. People furious at Republican Governor Greg Abbott for succumbing to the mask pressure and the other stuff. Never. I'm just telling you what I'm getting. Whether you believe in masks, you don't believe in masks. I have never received a volume of emails about Texas like I have recently. You may see a seismic shift in local politics at the state and local level if this stuff continues. You're going to bankrupt people and you think there's going to be no consequences whatsoever? You're not just going to bankrupt them. You're going to bankrupt their hospitals? Their food supply being strained? And you think somehow this is going to benefit? This is public health? Public health, shutting off the food supply, bankrupting hospitals. Look at this article at the Washington Examiner. Be in the show notes today. Bongino.com/newsletter if you'd like to subscribe to the show notes. The newsletter, as I always say, is the same thing. Newsletter, show notes, I use them interchangeably. David Hogberg, Washington Examiner. Read the article in full today. More hospitals face bankruptcy due to coronavirus losses. Wait. I thought we were locking down the economy for public health or something. I thought that's what we were doing. Because you know what's happening? Elective surgeries where people go in for, and by elective, by the way, it doesn't mean not necessary. Are we clear on that? I got a very good email and I appreciate it. You know who you were. From a nurse saying, Dan, clarify that. Elective doesn't mean unnecessary. People think elective, they think plastic surgery and things like that, which by the way, some of that is necessary too. People have been burned. Other stuff is cosmetic and could probably, elective doesn't mean not necessary. It means a hip replacement you're not maybe dying from, but you need it now, and maybe you can wait a few weeks. Everybody, please. I was so glad I got that email. Thank you to the nurse who sent that to me. Again, elective doesn't mean not necessary. It means it's not critical right at this moment. So you shut down hospitals for elective but necessary surgeries. That's where they make a lot of their revenue. Then bankrupt said hospitals. So now you have no hospital infrastructure to handle the overload of the healthcare system you said you were trying to protect by locking down the economy. This is what in liberal America and Rhino America and anti-Trump America passes for logic. Lock down the economy, destroy the food supply chains, bankrupt the hospitals, and do it in the name of keeping people healthier. Really good. Well thought out, folks. Did you take a logic class in college? Was that modus tollens and modus ponens? Remember that? Remember all that? Did you take that class? You must have failed that. Yeah, let's lock it down. Despite the fact you're bankrupting your hospitals and the evidence done by surveys during lockdowns in New York, which was the biggest hotspot in the country and has the most deaths anywhere, indicated that the people who were getting infected were home.
You just heard Dan Bongino.